Hi everybody. So this week's video is about the parent ego states in transactional analysis. Now, one of the reasons we do the child ones first is the child ones are almost like the easiest to relate to in isolation without looking at any of the other states. And once we've got an understanding of the child states, we can start seeing, as I start describing the parent states, you can start seeing how these might interact with each other in terms of relationships with people, interactions with people, and discussions with ourselves. I mean, let's be honest, all these ego states occur within us, and we can switch from one to the other as we go through. So let's look at the parent ego states. And fundamentally, the parent role is basically what we pick up from our parents, from parental figures, from authority figures while we're growing up. They can be things that people have said or just inferences we've made. Now, bear in mind that some of these inferences might not be intended by the people we're talking to. The challenge is that these are the messages our brains and our unconscious picks up in the early years of our life and while we're still forming our opinions of who we are. So as we said before, there are lots of things we pick up naturally in order, we're a social mammal, and all social mammals are really skillful at picking up the unspoken rules and norms of the environment. It's something you have to be able to do in order to fit into the society and be successful. So there's nothing wrong with this. So we have the child ego states and we have the parent ego states. So we're going to take a look at those today. So easiest way to look at the parent ego states is to actually look at them in contrast with each other. And we'll look at what's positive about them and constructive and what's potentially destructive about them. So there are two parent states fundamentally that we can go into. One is the controlling parent and the other is the nurturing parent. Now, the controlling parent is the one who, when you say, I really just want to go for a dog walk, I really just want to do some art, I really just want to read my book, the controlling parent is the one who goes, do you know what? You really need to do that piece of work first. If you do that piece of work, then you've earned the right to go for the dog walk. So you can see what's positive and constructive about the controlling parent. The controlling parent basically is ultra organized, is efficient and focused, takes charge, it really likes productivity, it's got those leadership skills, and it's sensible and logical. So if you find yourself wanting to indulge your free child, your controlling parent will come in and say, well, you know what, let's do that bit of work first and then go indulge it. So you can see that the controlling parent is actually really important for getting things done and meeting deadlines. Now, the challenge comes when the controlling parent can actually become destructive and it can have to be in charge. It can become an overbearing bully. It's like, you're not allowed to do art. You don't deserve to do it. You haven't worked hard enough to earn your walk outside. And it bullies you, basically. It can have unrealistic expectations. It's overcritical. If you've got that part of you that says, well, I've done the work, so now I can play, but it wasn't really good enough, that's your controlling parent kicking in. Okay? If things go wrong, the controlling parent is the one who over stresses. Now, the compliant child can stress out and be frightened about what's going wrong, but the controlling parent can feel really ego damaged by something going wrong. I wasn't perfect. I didn't get it right. It's like a challenge to the identity to be wrong. And part of the controlling parent and their need to be right and to get things done and to perform well can lead them to appear ignorant to other people's needs and to your own needs more than anything else. So this is where the controlling parent is often and usually balanced out by the nurturing parent. So the nurturing parent side of us is that considerate, caring kind. This is a self-care queen. Okay, encouraging, nurturing, approachable, so that compassionate, very focused on serving you and others. So the nurturing parent would be the one who would say, do you know what, you deserve an evening off. You really deserve some self-care. Go and have that warm bath. Pour yourself that glass of wine. Okay, that's the nurturing parent coming into play. However, just like the controlling parent, it can have a destructive side. The nurturing parent can make allowances for things that perhaps you shouldn't be making allowances for. You can imagine, you deserve that glass of wine. Well, how often do we get into that habit? If I finish a day at work, I deserve a glass of wine. I deserve this. I deserve that chocolate. I deserve that. And it becomes part of the issue with overeating, overindulging, unhealthy habits, because we go, I deserve these things. Okay. Now, the other thing is the nurturing parent is very similar to the good child in that it is basically driven by fear. So quite often what will happen is with the nurturing parent in charge is that you will know you have some stuff to do. But if it's stuff you haven't done before, your nurturing parent will say, well, do you know what? Don't stress yourself out about it. Just don't do it. It's fine. You don't have to put yourself out there. You don't have to push yourself. You don't have to do these things. And whilst that might at times come from a self-care perspective and a positive intent, sometimes it comes from a fear basis. And this already leads us to one of the key things about managing our ego states, which is if we know where they're coming from. Are they fear-driven? Are they result-driven? Are they self-driven? Are they other-driven? If we know what's driving them, we can then make some informed choices about how much to listen to them. So one of the first things I do if I find myself thinking, oh, I really deserve a glass of wine tonight, is I'll go, why? Where's that coming from? Am I thinking it'll be really nice and positive to relax with a glass of wine and I'll enjoy it? Or am I thinking, geez, just have a glass of wine and then you won't have to think about the stuff that's going on? That's interesting, isn't it? There's a difference. One is driven by self-care, the other is driven by fear of facing something. Both come from the nurturing parent. Now, if it came from, I don't give a toss, I'm having a glass of wine, I know I shouldn't, but I will, that's the rebellious child saying it. So it's the actual origin of the statement that can tell us which ego state it's coming from. And then we can say, is that okay? Do you know what? I'm going to go with the rebellious child tonight because it doesn't really matter. I haven't got work tomorrow. It really doesn't matter. And I'll just indulge my rebellious child a little bit. Now, the thing with the parent states is that the parent states are often triggered by spending too long in the child state. Interesting that. Or by other people being in the child state. If we go into the nurturing parent, because of that fear base, will be skeptical of things, be a bit of an underachiever, like, you don't have to try so hard. Just, that's good enough. That's good enough. And also the nurturing parent encourages procrastination. So the controlling parent will be going, let's get this done, then you can relax, let's do it. And the nurturing parent will be, don't push yourself so hard. Think about it a bit more. You deserve a bit more time before you do it. So the nurturing parent is quite often where the procrastination comes from. How interesting. So the reason for doing the two parent states together is that they often end up in conflict inside us. And just as we flip between different sides of the child, the parent one is often the least stable. Now, if we think about where it comes from, we might understand why. Our parental and authority figures, when we're very young, it comes from a huge range of people. So there might not actually be much consistency in the parent figures we're absorbing. And that's why the parent figure ego state is often the most challenging to predict and understand, because it really depends which voice we listen to from our past. Now, if you are, if both your parents tended to parent in the same way, that will give you the consistency. And if you didn't have exposure to many other different authority figures, you might have a very consistent parental style. But for a lot of us, we flip between the two. Now, if I'm going to share something about myself, I had free child and nurturing parent, both of which are disastrous for getting anything done. yeah, if I love it and I'm passionate about it, I'll do it. And my nurturing parent will go, you deserve this. Focus on what you enjoy. It was really challenging. I had to develop the good girl side of it. And that's what was really strongly developed in me. When I had all these authority figures around me, I didn't actually absorb a controlling parent side. What I did absorb was the good child side. So I ended up with quite an uneven balance. I had free child, I had good child, and I had nurturing parent. What I found really valuable when I got into the workplace was I had quite a few business mentors who basically taught me the controlling parent stuff. And by doing the controlling parent stuff, I realized I was able to progress, make people happy. It actually fulfilled a lot of the needs of the other things. By enabling my controlling parent, I was able to have time to be the free child. I was able to please people, which made my good child happy. And it freed up time because I'd be a controlling kind of parent in the workplace, and then I'd relax at home and do a bit of self-care. So the nurturing parent was able to be there. But that was the one that was fundamentally missing from me as I grew up. I really didn't have that ego state there. Interesting, isn't it? So I wonder if you have any ego states missing, having heard about this. So I will add these the words for these two parent states into the diagram. But fundamentally, what I want you to think about is, which is your primary parent ego state? Do you have one? Do you have different triggers which push you into the different ego states? I have to still work quite hard to activate the controlling parent, because the nurturing parent is quite strong in me. And I deserve time off. I deserve to play my computer game. I deserve to do this. What actually drives me to do things is my care for others, which is actually the good girl side, isn't it? Is that not letting others down? That's how I manipulate myself to get things done. So what I'd like you to start thinking about now is think about how you currently use your ego states to help yourself be successful. Because we all have coping strategies for dealing with these. What strategies have we got? And now we know about the parent ego states, are there more effective things to do? So in the next Zoom call, we'll be looking at the interactions of the parent states, but what I really want to start looking at in our next Zoom call together is how we can use all this to understand ourselves better and manage ourselves better. So if you could share some of your thinking about the parent ego states in the Facebook group this week, that would be great. So let me clarify. The assignment is, 1, think about where your parent ego states come in. Is one of them more common for you, or are they both about equal? Which situations, 2, which situations trigger the different parent states? And then 3, I would like you to start thinking about how your parent and child states interact. Okay, so that's the assignment for this week. I'm so looking forward to the Zoom call at the end of the month when we look at this. And in the next video, I'll be giving you some examples of the interactions between ego states so you can start seeing how that pans out in life. Okay, see you then.